All right, welcome to Super Nerds, and what a time to do a first podcast. I'm Mike Rothman, accompanied with my partner in crime, Anthony Quintano, and we just went and saw Spider-Man: No Way Home last night, and it was epic. Um, First words,
Yes.
my friend,
Yeah.
you're
I
on.
think my first words to quote were "Holy bleep." Um, it was uh, it was great. It was a great movie. There's a lot of words being thrown around, but I think that's kind of the topic here of what we're going to do today. We're going to be sharing what we like and what we don't like, what we
Mhm.
think. And my initial reaction was it was great. It was amazing. My best Spider-Man film out of the Spider-Man films. A lot of people are saying like this is the best MCU film. I don't think it's the best MCU film. I think it's the in the top 10 of MCU films,
Yeah,
but definitely not the best.
I think the comparisons to Endgame were a little unfair. I knew it going in that that's a lofty thing. I mean, Endgame was, and people are going to fire back at me. I was thinking about this earlier. Endgame was 10, 11 years in the making, but it was also like 30 movies in the making. Spider Man is, without spoiling it, we're spoiling it, right? We're going to spoil it?
Yeah,
It's
we
fine.
we get look.
Spider Man's like,
Warning here. We're going to talk about spoilers. So if you
yeah.
don't want to
So
watch it or hear it, get off the video now.
big spoiler warning. Spider-Man is 6 to 7 movies in the making, so that's what I was getting at. I think you have we know. Look, let's get this out. The cat's out of the bag. Again, another spoiler warning here. Tobey and Andrew are in it. It's everything you thought it was going to be. A lot of things we got right, a lot of things we got wrong. But again, Endgame, 30 movies in the making. Spider-Man: No Way Home, 6. And it was really kind of like it felt like a comic book feel. They got a lot of the fan service that we wanted, but different, totally apples and oranges on that one.
Yeah, there were the initial like intro to Toby and Andrew, epic. The audience reactions are amazing. We're seeing already the audience reactions in theaters. Everyone's like, movies are back, whatever. But I will. One of my biggest critiques so far is that I think the Toby and Andrew thing was a little too dragged out. Like there were certain things that I
Yeah.
don't feel like were necessary for the film. A lot of fun though. Like the scenes where they're all swinging together on the Statue of Liberty was epic. The battle scenes were great. There were, that I just feel like the ending was like, all right, already. Okay, let's wrap this up.
Well, you brought up so they do a lot of inside jokes. So if you're a huge fan, I think they dance the line well between diehard fans and non-diehard fans. So I think we can call ourselves diehard fans. You made a comment earlier. We were just talking about there's a lot of jokes that Toby does about the back. Now, for people that don't know, Toby Maguire was almost not in Spider-Man 2. Jake Gyllenhaal almost took over, ironically enough, Future Mysterio, because he had a major
I
back
didn't know
problem,
that.
like swinging on those ropes. It's not as CGI as it was, it's CGI now. Back in the day, it wasn't. So he was on like cables, and that was the whole Broadway show problem. The cast kept getting injured that way. So Toby really had a back problem, and they do this whole like skit. And it's like, if you don't know that, it's a little weird. So I agree with you on that one.
Yeah, and I'm gonna say I was not a fan of Spider-Man until Tom Holland. I was not a fan of the other Spider-Man movies, and they didn't come close. I wasn't as excited. I did go see them or whatever. I didn't do a pre-watch, which is what a lot of people did before this movie. I didn't want to set
Yeah.
myself up for if Toby and Andrew weren't in the film disappointment, right? So, but yeah, so I think the other thing I wanted to touch on too, what I was slightly disappointed in, like I was really that whole scene with Doctor Strange on the Statue of Liberty at the end, fighting the multiverse, like
Yes. Yes.
struggling to keep it open. Like I thought that was going to be like this kickoff into the multiverse
Mm-hmm.
of madness, but apparently we solved the problem. So how do we get into the madness of the multiverse?
Well, that's a very good point. So I think what they're doing is they're trying to protect. Again, I don't think Scarlet Witch is the Nexus event that creates the multiverse. I think it is the death of He Who Remains, and I think it is Loki. For those who've seen the show Loki, I guess spoilers, but we're doing Spider-Man: No Way Home. So if you haven't seen this, you're nuts. I agree with you it fell flat. Like I thought we were going to have these three major Nexus events, like Scarlet Witch powering up in WandaVision, Loki, The Death of He Who Remains, aka Kang's variant, and then this. Now they kind of tied it up on a bow, which is really weird. Like on one end, I understand Andrew and Toby have to go home, and we want to shut the door on most things. To add to it, of something that's disappointing, the first post-credit scene with Tom Hardy's Venom, uh, super let down, super disappointing. They set up the Venom symbiote. It's been out there. If
And
you
I
had
said this
seen
to you
it,
last night. I was like, does this mean that Tom Hardy is not going to be Venom with Tom Holland?
what it looks like is they're not going to be in the same universe. So, for those who don't know, quickly, we'll tell you what happens. Basically, Tom Hardy gets sent home with everyone else in their own universes when Doctor Strange wraps it up. The problem is there's a little bit of symbiote left over. It feels very much like Spider-Man 3 when Tobey Maguire first gets the symbiote. It just crashes in, attaches to his suit, and whatever. We've seen that before. I think this feels like a miss. Like I thought at some point Tom Hardy's talking about teaming up with Spider-Man. He's like, maybe need to go talk to this Peter Parker fellow and figure this out. And all of a sudden he's like disappearing again. It's like, okay. And then you look at the bar and there's a little bit of symbiote left over there. And it's like, all right, we see where this is going. But it's like, ugh. It felt like a letdown. I heard, actually, we were in the same theater. I heard someone say, boo.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think there's
And
other people that are like, "What's going on here? Why is Tom Holland leaving this universe now?" You know,
yeah.
you know what's funny too, and I'm kind of glad we got the Strange trailer to go back to that real quick because
So that's our second post-credit scene. Yeah, Strange trailer.
I feel like the
Multiverse of
opening.
Madness.
I feel like the opening where he talks to Wanda, like that one scene could have just been an end credit scene, right? Like they could have just totally ended with
Yeah.
that and cut the whole thing out. They gave us a
I think
full trailer.
Yeah, it would have left more to the imagination too. Like, what do you know about the multiverse? But also, again, like, where does this? So that's my concern, right? I think so. The first post credit scene is Tom Hardy and Venom, and we went over that. The second post credit scene is basically Doctor Strange 2, the trailer, and he approaches Juan and he's like, "What do you know about the multiverse?" And it's like, okay, like I don't know his motivation. Did he see something in there? There's a flash. Like, remember, we saw in What If, we saw, uh, which we also see in the post-credit scene, which is crazy. We saw the other Doctor Strange, which is the one from What If, is actually going to be in Doctor Strange 2, which is crazy. So the animated characters are going to be friggin' in Doctor Strange 2, which is crazy. We also saw the villain from that weird villain. I forgot his name from the Captain Carter episode. So, but like we see him marrying Rachel McAdams' character, which is obviously it was a huge part of the What If episode with Doctor Strange, is in a flashback. But like, where does this all come from? Like, again, like if the multiverse is, it feels a better setup if it was just opened, and he goes to Wanda being like, "How do we close it?" Why you close it, and now you're going to Wanda and being like, "Hey, what do you know about the multiverse? Why don't we go explore that?" And it's like it just feels weird. It doesn't leave me as much as like between Infinity War and Endgame, or like I'm excited for it obviously because it's been great, but I also it fell a little flat for me.
So there apparently is a toy that came out, Legends toy of Doctor Strange, naming the other Doctor Strange as Defender Doctor Strange.
Okay.
And that's what they're calling. Supposedly, that's the other Doctor Strange that we're seeing. I don't know if
Well, that makes sense. That makes sense because remember he ended the What If episode. So if you watch the What If series, he just effed up his own universe because he wanted to save Rachel McAdams' character, his love, and then eventually the Watcher. You know, he basically leads the team that is going to be the Guardians of the Multiverse, not the Guardians of the Galaxy, and he accepts his job after that to watch that little I can't even explain it fast, but there's like basically he has to guard something that got out. Like it's the Infinity Stones, and it's this battle between Vision and Killmonger and this whole crazy thing. He has to guard this like wrapped up. So he's definitely defending. He's defending the fabric of the multiverse. And he said he's like, I'll just sit here which that can't work. That what if ends with Doctor Strange Defender basically being like, all right, I'll just sit here in my empty universe watching this
But
crucial spell, basically.
yeah, so I know we're talking a lot of Doctor Strange here, but I feel like it's a really big part of Spider-Man. One thing I want to go back to Doctor Strange in a second, but I want to go back and mention the villains that come back in Spider-Man No Way Home. The fact that they're almost all there, right? We don't have the Sinister Six, supposedly. They do mention Rhino, but we also get a little love to Miles in the Spider-Verse, where Jamie Foxx says to Andrew Garfield, "Oh, I thought you were going to be black," or something like that, which kind of gives a little nod to Miles being a black Spider-Man. And that there is a black Spider-Man. The other thing too that I said to you last night was, I was shocked to see how long the villains were. They were the movie. Like, I thought they were just going to be a small part, like, small section where they all come in and make their appearance and do a battle and done. They're the storyline of this whole film, and I was intrigued. I think there were rumors that, and technically Electro is kind of like the overall kind of villain out of all of them. But it turns out that Green Goblin is really the overall arch. And Doc Ock, as we thought in the trailer, Doc Ock does, he fixes his thing and he's now good and he comes into the defense of Spider-Man. Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
That was my spiel.
No, I agree. I think it really that hits on a really important point because I think a lot of people have been saying that have seen it that are not spoiling it, saying this is a true Spider-Man film, and I agree. Much like Spider-Man 2, which basically shows like why it sucks to be a superhero, and I think that's one of like the original game-changing superhero films. This one really goes to the core of who Spider-Man is. So, almost like the Nolan Batman trilogy is like he refuses to kill. He refuses to bend his moral compass, even though like I think everyone in the theater can agree, right? Like at the beginning, when Doctor Strange is like, this is their destiny to die, and he still wants to save these villains, and I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Just send them back. Like this is not like. And I think he realizes
this is the morality of Spider-Man, right? Like he's a good guy and doesn't kill people, which is good. But you're right. It's like you could have Aunt May could still be alive if he didn't mess with this, and that's where he's really. It's
very similar. They definitely took a note from Nolan's book. Like, I mean, if you think about The Dark Knight, where Rachel dies at the hands of the Joker, and I think Batman probably has to realize and think about the fact that if he had just killed the Joker and taken care of these villains, she'd still be alive. And the same thing with Peter Parker. Like that was another thing I think I didn't really love. I loved for those who don't know, Aunt May busts out with great power comes great responsibility. It was a huge moment. I liked how that carried a lot of weight, but it's also like, did she
bring
have
your
to
tissues
die for him?
I'm telling you, a lot of people are crying during this film, including myself. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. No, I just felt a little forced in the sense that it was like she had to die to put this thing into Peter Parker's heart. Like, I like one of the things, a lot of Amazing Spider-Man 2 got a lot of hate. This is Andrew Garfield's world. We know Gwen Stacy dies at the end. I felt that though. Like there's a scene in there, if you haven't seen it, where she dies and my God, it's a great scene. I'm sorry, people are gonna hate on it, but he's standing at the grave and you see him stoic, and the seasons are changing behind him. So it's the fall, the leaves are coming down, and he's still there. It's snowing, he's still there, and he can't move. He's staring at, like, he was sworn to protect his, Gwen Stacy. He didn't want to hit her. He kept away from her in the movie. He tried to stay away from her. She's like, no, be with me, blah, blah, blah. And I think like that resonated and stuck with me. This one, I don't know. It's like, why did Aunt May have to die? Like, I understand, but like he kind of already had this.
I'll tell you why.
Compass.
Marissa Tomei's contract had to end.
Yeah. That's the truth. Yeah. So I mean, story wise, I didn't love that part. I like the slogan, and of course, it resonated later on when they united because of the slogan, and Ben and Aunt May and all that stuff like that. But it just didn't hit me in the heartstrings. Losing her did. Story wise, it didn't.
Thank you guys for watching. Hit like, subscribe, and comment. Let us know what you want us to talk about next.